The season finale, hands down, is the best episode I've seen out of all of the episodes that have aired so far for Halo. Um, Second season has definitely been better than the first season. I enjoyed both. This one has definitely been above and beyond. And the ending of this, the cliffhanger, the setup, we went from science fiction sort of campy stuff, and then we moved firmly into science fiction with like military science fiction vibes, and now we're in horror mode with the arrival of the main enemy of everyone, which we remember from the first game, which is the Flood. Uh, we're going to talk the whole episode here. So if you haven't watched yet, hit pause, go watch it, come back, because I'm talking the whole episode here. So if you need spoiler free, it's not going to be a place for you to be. But we're going to talk about everything. So you've had your warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holy crap. The Flutter here. And this episode just, it is terrifying. It is thrilling. It is an emotional roller coaster. Like, I haven't watched a piece of television this entertaining in a long time. This was genuinely one of the coolest things I've seen. Um, the Flood is terrifying. Like, we immediately or suddenly we're in Last of Us / Resident Evil territory with the arrival of the Flood, and it starts off innocuous. She's studying under the microscope, and the really hyperactive scientist behind her, and Halsey's daughter's like, "Did you touch it?" And the lady's like, "No, didn't touch it at all." And then she goes out and she starts just spreading it to everyone, and it's like, "Oh no, it's out in the lab now. The Flood is here. Oh crap." Which leads, this is in the middle of this giant space battle that's going on. And on top of this, you've got John flying towards the Halo, but listening to the radio and realizing that Kai, as she has boarded this ship with her troops and Perez, who Perez needs to become, if she doesn't, like, she needs to become a main cast in season 3. Like, this, I don't even remember the actress's name, but she has been killing it in her role as Perez, and I need to see more of this actress. The same with the actress who plays Kai. Like, I saw an interview with her the other day, and she's got like is that an English accent? I can't quite place it, but just there's so much new talent that I've never seen before that I'm watching in the show going, I need to see more of these actors and other things. They've been doing such a phenomenal job. So, they're off. Their ship gets blown up in space as they're like trying to do a landing, and they're off tumbling through space, and you've got Kai like in the earphone yelling at Perez, find your horizon, stabilize yourself, and then they're like they're shooting down through space in their suits, avoiding the dead bodies from the second wave, and then they make it to the ship and they get on and they find the bodies of the first wave, and only like however many of them, 10 of them, 15 of them make it out of like 200 or whatever. And it's all we need is one person to get there with the spike, right? And just the intensity of those battle sequences. And there's a moment where they're running in, they're completely out of ammo, and Kai and Perez are there, and they like have to pick up a Covenant rifle, and uh, Kai drops this line about "you never forget your first time," and they're just like, and I'm like, oh my god, this is exactly like the game. But they get to the end and they're being overwhelmed, and Master Chief hears this on the comms and deviates from course because he's not leaving anybody behind. And he goes down there, and there's this sequence where Kai and Perez are getting ready to defend themselves against this last stand, and here come waves of elites, and all of a sudden you hear something off in the distance and see the elites fighting something off in the smoke and haze, and all of a sudden Kai's like, Master Chief, and it turns out it's him, and he's just like, it's like a scene straight out from from the game, man. And he like sticks a sticky grenade on a guy and like chucks him off into the background and like flies backwards with the rifle. And it's just, there is some of the coolest action sequences in this episode out of the whole show. It was extremely well done. And in the midst of all of this, you've still got the Arbiter, and I always forget her name. The crazy prophecy chick, Mariko, or no, that's the other show I'm watching. Mariko's the Shogun show. I don't remember her name. Marika. I can't remember the girl's name. Anyway, the crazy chick with the Arbiter. She's off going to the Halo as well. As all of this is going on, back on the main ship, the Flood has now infected the whole ship. And Soren is going down to rescue his wife and child, and they're in jail cells with Ackerson, and the Flood is all around them, and they've got to go in, and they're sneaking past these bodies that are just like completely frozen, but then as they walk past them, like the last of them just does the whole zombie, as they pass, like, and so fighting to get out, they have to do some, it's really terrifying, their escape, but also Quan having a moment where she's surrounded by flood, thinking that she's gonna die, and then the old woman appears in her brain, and she's like, this is us, your ancestors, the darkness that your father talked about. We're here to help you protect against it. I can only hold them off for so long. You need to run now, but you need to accept who you are. So she's obviously going to be somebody important in terms of to counteract the flood, because she's able to paralyze. Well, the old lady is, but she wants to train Quan on how to do this. And so Quan runs away and manages to get out with Soren and his son, but the wife, unfortunately, Laura, gets left behind. She gets bit and she sacrifices herself, shuts the door, and shows her husband. And there's this really emotional moment, and they escape off this place. And in the midst of all this, too, the flood erupt onto the bridge of the ship, and um, they attack the admiral, and Halsey makes it out and runs down to the lab to save her daughter. But when she gets there, we realize that Halsey's been bit, or something somehow been affected, and her daughter's like puts her in freeze storage, and she's like, I'll figure out a way to save you. I'll figure out a way to save all of us, and this will delay the reaction. And she's looking around her, surrounded by the undead, but she's in the ship. They're not undead, but I'm calling them the undead, the flood. But she's in the ship with them. So, but at the same time, the ship is going to go down because of it's being overrun by flood. I don't know. It's creepy, man. It's really, really creepy and intense. This episode did not let off the gas the whole way. So that's all going down, and meanwhile, Master Chief ends up jumping out of the ship, and like flying down and getting into the ruins of the Arbiter's vessel, and somehow survives the landing, and he's crashed and he's on the planet. At the same time, Kai takes command of the vessel that she's in. She doesn't want to use the spike, so she takes command of the vessel she's in and sends it up into the main ship of the fleet, of the Covenant fleet, and there's a huge explosion. And right before it, she's like, "This is gonna hurt." Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload, or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. And we're left wondering whether or not she survives or not, because we do get a scene of her body floating in space, but no confirmation. Not I don't unless I missed it in somehow in the end of that, because I was very emotional. I definitely like welled up in my eyes like 6 or 7 times during this episode. My wife Chris actually came in here and was laughing at me. She's like, "What are you laughing? What are you crying about? It's science fiction." Like, it was the moment when they pick up the rifles, and she's like, "You're never gonna figure it your first time." And I was like, I literally had a flashback to being like whatever I was when this first game came out, 18, 19 years old, and playing like all night sessions with my uncle and my cousins, and playing the first Halo game and being like, oh yeah, you never forget the first time you pick it up. It's so true. So great episode overall. Of course, the end is, John's down on the planet. He faces the Arbiter. It's a hugely tense fight, but he does kill the Arbiter. But the crazy prophecy chick ends up going inside of the into one of the structures, into the Halo, and Master Chief follows her in, and that's end of scene, fade to black, into the episode. Now in all of this, however, also is the voice of one of the bots. I can't remember. Anyway, the bots that you see that talk to you and guide you through. It's been questioning about her and John. Like, there's a narration sequence at the beginning and one towards the end. So we get left off with John being deep inside the in the one of the towers that's on the Halo itself, and we know now exactly where season 3 is going. So this was the lead up to season 3 being literally the first game, which is, I mean, it's an adaptation of, so there's differences here, but we're on the Halo. The Covenant are coming to Halo. The Flood are coming to Halo. It's all coming together. And I have to say, that this episode perfectly bridged the gap between like military science fiction, which is what it kind of started off as, and has now firmly stepped into the unique brand of, I would argue, horror slash action adventure sci-fi that Halo has always been, because the flood has always been terrifying. There's always been an underlying sort of horror element to these games, and they have embraced that with this episode and went all in. So I am so stoked for season 3. Like, I liked season 1. If I were to rate season 1, I would give it like a 7.5 or an 8. Season 2 has been a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, there was no fat on the bones of this. This was lean meat all the way. Really good storytelling, great special effects, great fight scenes and cinematography, especially in this episode when he's fighting the Arbiter and he pulls out the grapnel, and I'm like, Halo Infinite, baby! Like, good stuff, everybody. What a great finale to the season. I loved this episode. Hopefully you did as well. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update, because I review other shows. Coming up, we've got Star Wars Acolyte that's coming in June. I can't wait. And Chris and I are also still watching Shogun, which we're still reviewing, and other shows as well. So check out all the playlists. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, the Discord, and we'll see everybody in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Happy gaming, everybody.